What's up, everybody? It's your girl Mika, and we're back for another Red Cup Talks, because you know once we have the Red Cup, we're about to spill some truth. So today I wanted to come on really quick and just react to CNN talking about police unions apparently blasting Donald Trump because of the pardons, all right? And how CNN goes on to talk about the George Floyd riots and the BLM riots versus January 6th. Here we go.
Would always also expect to see, the hundreds of people who were convicted of the George Floyd protests of assaulting police officers to walk free, right, Scott?
Well, they were prosecuted.
How many were prosecuted ultimately?
Hundreds.
Because there were lots of people that had all their charges dropped.
I have the answer for you, and it's hundreds of them.
Yeah, I saw an analysis. I saw an analysis of that somewhere, and most people who were charged had their charges dropped.
But what charges were they?
All kinds of charges.
If they were failure to disperse, those types of charges. The ones who were charged with violent crimes, those charges were not dismissed. They were prosecuted.
Yes.
Well, they went into all kinds of diversionary programs. I'm one of the few lawyers in this country that represented people in those riots and on January 6th, one of the very few. And the way that the prosecution was handled between those two groups are starkly different.
Don't you think that there is a substantive difference between what happened on January 6th, what they were trying to do, and why the federal government has a desire and, in fact, a necessity to prevent that from ever happening again? Don't you think there's a substantive difference between those two things? One of them was trying to overturn an election.
I'll answer.
You don't think there's a difference between trying to overturn an election and violent social justice protests?
Social justice. Okay.
I'll give it to you, Scott. Let's say that they're violent. You don't think there's a difference between trying to obstruct the peaceful transfer of power?
Here's what I think.
And violent riots in the
streets. Can he tell what he thinks?
The ones in 1968, the ones
what were
in
the objective of those riots?
I think both groups of.
Oh my God! He can't even say what he thinks because she won't shut up. Absolutely absurd. And then if he interrupts them, they go ham. And can I talk? Can I talk? Can I talk? Let the man talk.
The people were mad about something going on. They wanted to change it. They took matters into their own hands that they should not have done. In both cases, you had people engaging in activities that they should not have engaged in. Now, our culture and our public discourse decided one group of people, social justice is good, and these people were bad. But the reality is they had the same motivation.
Here's the thing.
They all did the same thing.
Wait a second.
They had the same motivation.
They did not.
Sure they did.
No,
they wanted
didn't.
to change something they didn't like.
First of all, I don't even want to get in this debate because it's done. People voted, and as Anna said, FAFO. Okay, go Google it if you don't know what that means, because I can't say it on national television. But this is the era that we are in. And there were people in protests. They were not riots, they were protests. And there were people who showed up at the protests and did bad behavior. But that was because a man was murdered.
No, ma'am. I live in Washington, D.C. No, ma'am. Okay. A lot of these riots that were here in Washington, D.C. and in Baltimore, people did not just show up. They actually went down there and they started to riot. Okay. And you can't just do that because a man was murdered. All right. We have laws in this country? The same thing you're arguing, right? You're arguing a point that, we have laws in this country. You can't just run into the Capitol building because you don't like what was going on about an election. And you can't just go and smash and thrash stores and other people's property and, of course, assault police officers, because plenty of DC police officers and plenty of Secret Service men and all of that were assaulted during those BLM riots. The media just didn't report on them.
That doesn't give you the right to break into the Nike store. That doesn't give you the right to break into Tiffany's.
How about you let me finish? How about you
blowing up a police precinct?
There you go.
Let me finish.
There you go.
That's what we do at this table. A man was killed, and that's why they protested. Now, I don't sit on this network and try and both sides something. If you were violent in those protests, repercussions should be had. But that is not what happened on January 6th. What happened on January 6th is people went and stormed the Capitol because a man pouted and lost an election and couldn't stand up. Nobody died because of that election. People died because of Donald Trump's actions, and because, I don't know if the people you defend, but officers died on that day?
No,
they did not.
No, one guy had a heart attack 5 days later.
Okay. Thank you. I keep saying this. No officer died on that day. How do you keep lying about that? That Officer Fanone is an ass, okay? Because he is lying. The footage that they show on CNN itself is not even Officer Fanone's footage. It is the black officer that was doing all the work footage. If you want to really talk about it, okay? CNN goes and slight a black officer. When you watch the camera footage, they black out the camera name. Okay, right under camera footage from MPD is an officer's name. It ain't Officer Fanone.
Hold on, Officer Brian Sicknick, he had multiple strokes. He died
Officer Brian Sicknick did not die on January 6th.
by suicide. Officer Jeffrey Smith, Metropolitan Police.
Okay, you know how many cops die by suicide all
I'm
the
going
time?
to say their name.
Oh my God. So the officer who Officer Fanone camera footage he used, that officer is friends with the officer that died by suicide. Okay? Again, they're lying. I can't believe it. It's Democrats, it's the left, it's CNN. This is why they're getting sued, right? CNN just lost a lawsuit because you guys don't do anything but lie. And you got a black woman sitting at the head of that table. And I'm sure she's seen that footage, but yet y'all still allow Officer Fanone to get up there and spew all that nonsense and lie. Go figure.
Whether you like it or not.
You can
He
say
died by
everybody's
traumatic brain injury and he died by suicide. Officer Howard Livingood, Capitol Police,
Lies.
died by suicide. Gunther Hashida, Metropolitan Police, died by suicide. Kyle DeFreytag, Metropolitan Police, died by suicide. So I am not going to, if you're going to be campaigning about being for the blue, being about law and order, you know what I really appreciated today? The very few Republicans on the Senate who stood up, people like Tom Tillis,
Can I play the sound because we have it? Let's play
because
that
they are being consistent to who they were on January 6th and January 7th.
Do not support the pardons if they were given to people who committed violent crimes, including assaulting police officers.
He told us he would pardon the Jan 6 protesters. That was well known when he campaigned for the job. He won the popular vote. He won a mandate, and fully support him in doing that.
So there were some, like, to your point. And do we have that Wall Street Journal op-ed? The Wall Street Journal just put out an op-ed tonight, basically saying this, that Republicans, Trump pardons the January 6th cop beaters. Republicans busy denouncing President Biden's preemptive pardons for his family and other political allies, and deservedly so. But then it's shameful if you don't hear many, if any, rueing President Trump's proclamation to pardon unconditionally nearly all of the people who rioted at the Capitol on January 6th. I mean, there are people here on the right who think this is outrageous. And so I don't think it's I don't know. Maybe some people think that you can't be pro-Trump and
Abby, what are they going to do about it?
oppose this, but it seems like you can. Tom Tillis supports Trump. He opposes it.
It's not right-left.
It is right. I mean,
No, it's not right. He's right. He's right. It's not right.
It's supposed to be right-left.
It's right, wrong. For the
presidential power, it's what's best for our community and our society as a whole. You're right. All of those officers that died and lost their lives and committed suicide, they should be honored. They lost their lives. But it doesn't matter why you attack a federal building. You can attack a federal building because you're mad because somebody got killed, or you can attack a federal building because you're mad because somebody didn't win an election.
No.
It doesn't justify it. It doesn't justify
This is where
disparaging
listen,
treatment.
I take your point.
Can I say something? I would argue that letting 1,500 people loose who are now emboldened and feel that they are untouchable because the president of the United States has their back. People who, many of them, have very violent tendencies because they've already shown them. People who their own families are terrified of. We have seen reports in this.
It's not true. What you're saying is just
which part is not true?
All of it.
Abby.
Well,
Which part is not?
Hold on.
Hold on. Go ahead.
The vast majority who people were charged with a crime, they were sheep. They followed the herd into the Capitol. Yes, there were a handful of violent people, but the vast majority of those 1,500 people were people who walked in and trespassed.
This woman is just Trump deranged. Abby is Trump deranged. All these people are stupid. But what I really don't like is I don't like the lies. Like, I don't like the lies on these officers. The officers that did suicide had nothing to do with January 6th. All of them that committed suicide were actually suffering from things unrelated to January 6th because it was happening before January 6th. To sit up here and tell that gross lie, I cannot stand Anna, and I definitely can't stand Abby, because she don't ever know anything. Like, she doesn't know anything, and she just talks out the side of her head. And Scott, I feel you. Why you sit up there and you don't say anything? Because I wouldn't say anything either. If I had to sit at a table with a bunch of dummies and talk all day, I'm just going to make my money, because at the end of the day, you're not going to change none of these dummies. They're all idiots.
The vast majority of the people that were there that day never entered the Capitol. Okay,
Yeah,
first of all.
and they were not
The
charged.
percentage of people that did enter the Capitol are very much as you just described. People who went there to cause problems, not people who were there who was protesting. Most of the people that went from the ellipse to there did not enter the Capitol, did not intend, and never did commit acts of violence. There are more than a handful of people that committed acts of violence.
Okay.
But I would say that there were less than in the summer riots that committed acts of violence.
Look, there were way more than a handful.
Of the 1,500, I want to get the number. This is CNN. Let's get the number.
And
Get the number.
And also,
Get the number.
why does that justify pardoning all of
No,
them?
get
Carte
the
blanche. I think that's
number.
really the question that we were trying to. We got to go, Michael. Thank you
Oh,
very
now
much.
you gotta
Actually,
go.
we really appreciate you coming here and bringing that perspective to the
Now you
table.
gotta
Thank
go.
you.
So this is the AP, okay? And they like the AP because it's very liberal, all right? The AP reads as follows. 200 people were found guilty of assaulting law enforcement in some sort of way, okay? 200 out of 1,600. That's a handful out of 1,600, okay? And this can be anything, all right? Assaulting a police officer can be anything. But I'm surprised that they got charged at all, because in Washington, D.C., they have something called no paper. You can literally assault a police officer and they will let you go. That is known in Washington, D.C. It's called no paper. You can go look it up, all right? Now, like I said, 200 out of 1,600. This is why Abby didn't want to give you the numbers, okay? One thing a liberal don't like to do is give facts and state facts and pull up facts, because at the end of the day, it doesn't fit their narrative. You cannot like what happened on January 6th. You cannot like Trump. You cannot like the pardons. But those are the facts. Out of 1,600 people, 200. But people like Abby are going to continue arguing with an attorney who's actually on the cases. You can't make this stuff up. You guys get down in the comments and let me know what you think about being able to assault an officer and riot and throw bricks and do all of the crazy stuff if it's involving injustice, social justice, and a man being murdered, versus if you don't like the way the election turned out. When I tell you, you can't get no more political than this, you can't get no more political than this, it's going to be a long 4 years. Get down in the comments, like, comment, and subscribe. It's your girl, Mika, and I'm out. Peace.